Just going to give it another minute or so before we get started. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to Microstream. My name is Benjamin Moeller. I am a paleontologist who right now is hanging out in my living room. It's a nice, cozy Monday afternoon. It's a little overcast here in Tucson, and I'm going to enjoy looking at some subfossil eggshells, actually. Unlike most of what I look at on this stream, these are only about 1,000 years old, approximately. These are eggshells of an elephant bird. That's a generic term for several different species, two of which are in the genus Aepyornis, which is what this most likely pertains to. And these are big chunks of eggshell that come from Madagascar. These are birds that went extinct around the time that humans first colonized the island. And that's probably not a coincidence that they were probably preyed upon. And these giant eggs, much like modern ostrich eggs, were probably really important sources of protein. They may have even been used for things like carrying water. And unfortunately, the elephant bird was hunted into extinction. But, eggshells from this species can still be found on the island and around the world now, as different explorers have exported them. And today I'm just going to do some looking at fragments underneath the microscope. These are probably not from the same individual, from the same locality. They could be hundreds of years apart in age, thousands of years apart in age. Really difficult to tell. Really no way of knowing, but it's a very interesting sample. It's really cool to be looking at these. And I'm just going to do a little bit of photography and try to take a close look at different angles, at different depths, at just kind of every aspect I can get from these guys. I've done streams like this looking at doing photography of eggshells of a couple of different things. I've done dinosaur eggshells before for certain, from theropods and from sauropods. So this is another theropod technically. Member of the dinosaur family tree, although these lived many millions of years after the vast majority of theropods went extinct, and all of their ornithischian relatives. So the feature that I'm really going to try to capture here are the different pores. So an eggshell is not a totally solid entity. It's actually, needs to engage in gas exchange with the outer atmosphere because, especially in the late stages of development, the embryo inside, before hatching, it needs to breathe. It needs oxygen. So you can't have a totally solid eggshell. And that's the case in any egg that you see. So I'm going to try to photograph those in as best detail as I can. And part of what this is good for is showing the differences between objects that people find in nature that might confuse them for fossil eggshells versus what actual fossil eggshell looks like. So one of the exhibits, the specialty gallery that I released last year in my free virtual museum Shadowbox, that's free software that you can download right now for Windows PC off of Steam. I have an exhibit called Real, False, Phony, and that does exactly this. It shows you some of the photos that I took on Microstream last year, showing the difference between just a regular old rock up close and what a fossil eggshell looks like. You can see some of those divots there. I've got one centered in the frame right now. So as far as I'm concerned, there probably isn't a way to tell whether this shell ever actually hatched. You know, if it was preyed upon before the embryo hatched, it would be broken. If the embryo hatched, it would also be broken. So I suppose unless you find an absolutely intact egg, which this is not, there's probably no way to tell if the embryo in it survived or not. And of course, as I'm doing this, I've got a little bit of music playing in the background, which will immediately get this stream copyright struck. I don't really care. I don't make money off of this. And if anybody has any questions, anything they want to just throw out there, just want to chat, that's what I'm here for. We're just relaxing here at the end of a Monday afternoon. I've certainly got a busy week ahead. I had a really busy weekend behind me, so this is just a little bit of a breather before my week really gets started. I'm also waiting on an important email that could come at any time, so that's always stressful. I'm not going to specify what the email is in case it's bad news, but I'm hoping to hear back on something. Let's see. So now we're looking at the inside structure here. You can see it's definitely quite different. That's really interesting. I think there's some glue on this side. Some consolidant. That's that kind of shiny reflective surface that you see there. The sample that I'm working with has quite a few pieces, so I'm going to be swapping them out so we can get a view of a variety of pieces. Again, there's assuredly no relationship between each of these pieces. Not from the same egg, probably not from the same time period. No guarantee they're from the same location. Could even be a mix from a couple of different species, you know. It's really quite difficult to tell what species an egg comes from if it's not complete and if there's not an embryo inside of it, if it's not arranged in a nest, which is why when fossil eggshells are described, they're not attributed to the organism that laid it. They're always given their own names as a sort of trace fossil. Here it's so bright. I need to turn that gain down a little bit. Let's flip this guy over. It's like a totally different texture on the inside. Interesting. Let's throw on another piece. This site is really interesting looking. There's another piece, external. going to try to bring this down a little more so I can get a better view. This one has some interesting, like, calcite on the surface here, that kind of white buildup. Turn that gain up. Okay, I'm just gonna do maybe one or two more pieces, and then we can wrap up. I am just so wiped out. Honestly, I drove in from to and from Claremont, California to attend the annual meeting of the Western Association of Vertebrate Paleontologists. And that is in total, 15 hours behind the wheel. Drove out on Friday, came back on Sunday, went into work 9:30 a.m. this morning, so I am pretty tired. The full week ahead. But that's just kind of how it goes, you know? But something I'm trying to do a lot better this year is acknowledge that stopping and resting is part of the formula. You can't just go, and never rest. And when your schedule demands that you do that, that's when you have to step up and say, that's not going to work, that's not realistic, and kind of assert what a realistic and sane and healthy, way to do things is. You have to set those boundaries, or you just kind of get stuck overworking. And that's not a great option. It's not a great way to do things. And people who want you to succeed and do well, they don't want you to burn out, you know? It's like, what's the point of pushing yourself if literally nobody is asking for that? And in this case, I think we accomplished something nice. We got some photos. It'll be very interesting to look into these eggshells further. Learn a little bit more about where they might have come from. Just get one more, this pattern here. That's really cool. And I think that's going to do it for me, guys. I'm going to go ahead and take a rest. So thanks for watching, and I will be back next week. See you then.